Out here at the island, this would be and could be a perfect spot for him to hide. Not too many people out here, but there's a lot of environmental things that we're gonna fight. So here we go. The search now is really on. The search has just begun.
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. Today has been the most, I don't even know. We're at that point in a case where the initial media hype is starting to die down and the fast-paced information that we've been receiving on it is also slowing down. And the FBI now has taken over the case of Gabby Petito, and they're searching for Brian Laundrie. And because the FBI is now involved, information about what they're doing is sealed. The FBI doesn't tell anyone or anything. Due to the FBI's secrecy, this creates a space for a lot of speculation to happen on social media. It also creates a space where there's a lot of money up for grabs if someone can find Brian. And so people are doing what they want to do and doing what they can do to find Brian. And it's creating a space on the internet where Brian is literally in 8,000 different places at once. But today has been more off the chain than any other day because it started with a tweet from Josh Benson from WFLA. And it got everyone believing that the imminent capture of Brian Laundrie was coming. And as we began to try to sift through the information and where this information was coming from, it created even more confusion. So this morning, Josh Benson, who is a reporter for WFLA, the NBC affiliate in South Florida, he tweeted this. Now, getting reports there's activity at Fort DeSoto. Reports of law enforcement on scene and a helicopter in the air. So everyone immediately starts tweeting him, retweeting and being like, okay, today's the day. The law enforcement is there. And then shortly after that, News Daddy, Brian Enton, everyone loves, he's by far had the most reliable, verified content. I mean, journalism, he's done a phenomenal job here. He said this, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office tells me they know of no police activity at Fort DeSoto right now. They say their chopper is in the hangar and the only chopper over the area is a news helicopter. So that was then followed up by Josh Benson saying, per Eagle 8 HD, no visuals of the scene. We're heading back to the fort for another look. I'm getting reports out of Dog's camp as well. They are on the ground. Nothing confirmed at this point. So then that's where I start to wonder, okay, is Dog the one that gave this report? Like, what's going on here? Who's searching there? Then Brian Enton shares visual photos showing that there's no searches going on in the area. The news chopper is taking the photos. It's totally quiet at this place. Then JB, hey JB from WFLA, he tweets and says, we are going to be streaming within the hour on WFLA with an update. Can't give the specific time or details, lots of moving parts. So people believed that this, again, was going to be more from JB, like, okay, this means something's legit. NBC is on this, right? So then TMZ comes out with an article and they're like, Dog the Bounty Hunter claims that he has tracked down Brian Laundrie and he's on a remote location. And they say that he was alive and they had confirmed reports that he was alive as of 10 hours ago, and that their lead was only 12 hours old, and that Brian Laundrie was alive. He was hiding in this like key off the Florida coast, and they were going to go find him. And they were like within an hour of tracking Brian down and capturing him, right? So the title says, Dog the Bounty Hunter says he's closing in on Brian Laundrie. Okay, so he was at like this tiny, there's a bunch of little islands that are outside of the Fort DeSoto area, and they're very wooded, whatnot. So he says he's alive, I know he's alive, and I'm about to go get him, okay? JB announces that a big announcement is coming, and then he clarifies and says, just so we're all on the same page, Brian Laundrie has not been found, and Gabby Petito's autopsy results are not going to be released or haven't been released. Just checked again. There's no imminent WFLA stream at this time. So at this point, I'm like, all right, who's giving out this information? Is it Dog? Is it law enforcement? Are they like hedging their bets that the details and the information they're getting out from Dog is like what is accurate and truth? So Dog then makes this update. He posts it on his Twitter, and he says this.
We're out here at the island. This would be and could be a perfect spot for him to hide. Not too many people out here, but there's a lot of environmental things that we're gonna fight. So here we go. The search now is really on. The search has just begun.
So he's going like in this island, and they're hot on the scent. And this is where Brian possibly could be. So like within the span of like an hour, it turns into Brian was alive and Brian is here to Brian was possibly here. I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. They get there and there's no sign of Brian. And so then they bring in canines. And it's like, now we're going to track dogs and we're going to track Brian's scent. And Dog goes to all these different little chains of islands to go look for Brian. And his news changes from a possible trace of Brian. That's how it ends. So it starts as Brian's alive. I know he's here. We're going to get him to. There's a possibility that there's a trace of Brian here. I can't keep up. So at this time I am filming, it is 4:30 p.m. Central Standard, and Brian has not been found in Florida. Brian has not been found there, okay? There has been some activity. There's been some circling of helicopters and news choppers and that kind of stuff, but there's been no active searches in this area. Pinellas County saying no search, no law enforcement seen at the park. And everyone I've talked to that knows this area says it's a really small part of Florida, and it's a really small park, and it would be really hard to hide because there's just not a lot of area, and there's only like one road in and one road out, and there's cameras, and it would just not be a really place. It wouldn't be a good place to hide, and he would have to get in a boat to go to these different places, and a lot of the boats, they would know who you are and they would see you visually. It's just not the best place to hide if you're Brian. He's not in Florida, but then suddenly he's in North Carolina, and this is where the story gets ridiculous. So this guy out of North Carolina, Skyline News, never heard of him before. Suddenly this tweet's going all over the place, and it says, "We found him. We've got him," right? And it's like, what's going on? So there's been some speculation that Brian might potentially be in North Carolina because he has some family there. I think his uncle lives there, right? So they say that Brian is seen driving his Uncle Tom's car. Now they say that Tom is his grandpa, but he's not. He's actually his uncle. He's Christopher's older brother. So they claim that he got pulled over and that Brian was on the side of the road, and he shows this picture, and it doesn't really look anything like Brian. It's a guy wearing a red shirt and a red hat and a mask, and you can't even tell, and it's like very far away. And he's like, "This is him. We know we've got him. We know it's Brian Laundrie because he's driving a car registered to Thomas Laundrie, his uncle." Like, if you were out hiding, do you think you would be driving your uncle's car registered in your uncle's name? I mean, that's literally I'm just asking. Does that sound like something smart to do? In his 2-minute live, suddenly he like discontinues it and he gets a phone call. And within, I don't know, half an hour, he posts something on Facebook that says, at the request of law enforcement, Skyline has pulled the story about Brian Laundrie. Stay tuned. And he has then updated that post saying, at the request of law enforcement, Skyline has pulled the story about Brian Laundrie. Stay tuned. We are on top of it and we'll have more information as it unfolds. Now, there have been no verified sightings of Brian Laundrie in North Carolina. A lot of people have seen or believe they've seen Brian around North Carolina, and it wouldn't be like an abnormal or an unusual spot for him to go. It's kind of it's sort of near the Appalachian Trail, and he's got family in the area, so it wouldn't be an unusual place to go. But again, it will also be an area where if he's got family there, like you're going to probably look, like the FBI is going to search in areas where someone has family. That's like usually the first thing they do, right? So the idea that he's driving his uncle's car with his uncle's name on the title and he gets pulled over, very slim that this is actually accurate. And I don't know if law enforcement told him to take it down because it was a legitimate lead or if it was just take this down because it's just factually not true. All right, so if you're up to breast here, Brian has been seen not only in Florida and so alive, also in North Carolina. Now, they're still searching for him in the reserve. Yes. So today, they were back in the reserve searching in ponds and lakes, and they haven't said specifically what they're looking for. If this is a recovery mission, if this is an evidence recovery mission, they haven't said anything. But the FBI was back in Carlton Reserve looking with boats and with divers. And some people are speculating that maybe he threw evidence into one of the lakes and that's what they're looking for. Maybe he threw Gabby's phone. Maybe they're after trying to find Gabby's phone. There's so many we don't knows in this, so it leaves this whole room for speculation. So the really frustrating thing, and for everyone in this case right now, is that everyone wants Brian Laundrie to be caught. And unfortunately, in a case like this, it could go on for months before we know anything. Heck, it could go on for years. Because think of it this way. The guy that did Eric Rudolph, he hid in North Carolina woods for 5 or 6 years. For years. He could be on the run for years. Or there's the strong possibility and the very real possibility that he's not alive. So you've got all these different cogs in the wheel and a lot of people wanting to break the story that he's caught, and it's creating a lot of misinformation on the internet. And so all day today I was trying to make sense of this. And then in the middle of all of that, there's a story that gets broken by TMZ that says that Brian allegedly bought a burner phone and he was with his mom, seen at an AT&T store, and the TMZ article says that they were there on September 14th and that he was buying a non-traceable phone and that he was there to hook it up. And the story is kind of morphed and changed. There was this screenshot that was going around on Instagram, and it was from this Facebook post of someone saying a DM message, I think, where someone was like, I'm not supposed to say this, but Brian was in our store and he was buying this non-traceable phone. And so TMZ then goes to the store and they're like, we can't talk to you. You can talk to the FBI. And then the FBI's says no comment. So then everyone starts emailing or text messaging Stephen Bordolino, who, by the way, has said so many things about this damn phone at this point. I don't know what to believe. He had finally admitted that, yes, they did buy a phone. He said it was not a burner phone. It was not a prepaid phone. It was a real phone. And he says that they purchased the phone on September 4th, not September 14th, and that the phone is the same phone that Brian left when he left for his walk on September 14th and didn't come back. Now, why would you get a phone and then just leave it? And I already thought he had a phone. What happened to the phone that he pulled out of his pocket when he was pulled over in Utah? That's a question I don't understand. Then, so we get all these different answers about the phone, right? We still don't know why they bought the phone or what he needed the phone for, and he wouldn't answer those kinds of questions. And the FBI won't answer questions about the phone. And they say that the FBI has this phone. So FBI apparently has the phone, and they're not on the hunt for a burner phone. It was a real phone. Now everyone doesn't believe the attorney, and he's just making things a heck of a lot more confusing. So what do we know today? Brian's still on the run, or he's not alive. They are searching for sure in the Carlton Reserve. The FBI has not released any details. The FBI was sent video surveillance from the Fort DeSoto campground because it's a Pinellas County park, and they had apparently video footage of them driving in and out of the camp on the 6th and the 8th through the 8th, and that's it. We don't have any confirmed sighting in North Carolina, and because the FBI is so quiet and because everyone wants to catch Brian, there's a lot of people that are eager to break the story, and it's just created so much confusion. That's where we're at today. No Brian yet. I've spent way too much time listening to scanners. I've been trying to verify. And honestly, if you want someone reliable to follow on the story that's on Twitter, that's pretty consistent and really just goes with the facts, stick to Brian Enton. WFLA is okay. They did correct them. They corrected everything. Josh Benson on a live stream did say that he was going off information from Dog the Bounty Hunter, and so he had to scale back his set. Okay, yeah, no, there wasn't law enforcement. It was someone that Dog had with him. And Dog still hasn't said that he's actually found Brian. So, and the fact that the FBI hasn't said anything doesn't tell us anything. They could be looking in places we don't even know. They could know things that we don't know. They might know that he's not alive, and we don't even know that yet. We have no idea. Or they might have intel of where they think he's hiding, and they're never going to tell us. So while it's amazing to hear that he's been caught or you've got a bounty hunter on it, it also is technically in situations like this, you usually want to keep it on the hush hush. So that's what I've got for today. If you're on the Twitter, the Brian Laundrie hashtag, have you been as all over the place as me today? Have you been so emotional and invested in this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.